My wife often works night shifts as a nurse, and I barely see her since I work during the day. We love each other deeply despite everything, but it's often difficult to spend weekends together. That evening was no different. I was sitting on the couch, relaxing with a beer and chips. I'd only drink beer in the kitchen if she were home, watching TV, when suddenly the doorbell rang. I glanced at the clock. It was 1:30 in the morning. Who could possibly come this late? I walked to the door and cautiously peered through the peephole. No one. "Who's there?" I called, still looking through the peephole. No response. The hallway was empty. Probably just kids messing around, I thought, turning to walk away when the doorbell rang again. "Who the hell is it?" I asked, now with a tinge of anger in my voice. "It's me," came a cheerful voice from the other side. It was me. I looked through the peephole again, but still saw nothing. "It's Johnny, your old buddy. You don't recognize my voice, man. You've completely forgotten me." "Huh?" Completely confused, I opened the door and immediately gagged from the stench. Standing there, grinning widely, was Johnny, my former army buddy, dressed in military fatigues. I covered my nose with my shirt as the smell was unbearable. "Can I come in?" Johnny asked, still smiling. He was dressed in full camouflage, which was strange, but what was even stranger was that he had shown up at my place in the middle of the night. "Sure," I said, still baffled. "How'd you end up here? Why didn't you call?" "I couldn't," he replied as he stepped over the threshold. You could have at least warned me," I chided, giving him a friendly slap on the shoulder. "Come to the living room, I'm drinking some beer, and close the door behind you. It smells like something died out there." I glanced at him, and for some reason, a chill ran down my spine. We hadn't seen each other in 3 years, and he had changed a lot since then. His face was pale, his eyes sunken as if he hadn't slept in a week, and dark brown circles hung under his eyes. He was still in full military gear, complete with a cap. "And why the uniform?" I asked, feeling a strange sense of unease. "Wait." Johnny stared at me with empty eyes and said nothing. "No." I led the way into the living room. After a few minutes, Johnny followed. He hadn't taken off anything, not even his boots. I found it odd but didn't ask any questions. My unease was growing. "Unease, how are you? Why'd you show up so late? Is everything okay?" I asked, trying to break the silence. Johnny had never visited me like this, especially not in recent years when we had all but lost touch. "Everything's fine," he replied without turning his head. I waited for him to say more, but he remained silent. There was no trace of the guy who used to crack jokes and make the whole platoon laugh. "Want a beer?" I asked. "I'll grab you a glass. We can drink like old times." Johnny didn't answer, just sat there. I rushed to the kitchen, nerves jangling. Something was wrong. Everything was wrong. His unusual silence, the smell coming off him, the look in his eyes, and honestly, who just shows up in the middle of the night after 3 years without any contact? But my hands trembled as I grabbed a glass. The home phone rang. I flinched involuntarily. Probably Lauren, I thought, and went to the hallway. It was indeed my wife, and she sounded tired. "How are you, honey?" "Drinking beer on the couch like always," she asked sweetly. "Yeah," I began, but Lauren cut me off. "Where's your cell phone?" she asked. "I don't know. Probably on the couch." "Why?" "I have bad news, sweetie. I got a call from Johnny's wife. Remember your army buddy? She tried calling you too, but you didn't pick up." "Yeah," I managed to say, a huge lump forming in my throat. "Well, he's dead, darling. The funeral is tomorrow. We need to buy tickets. It's in Denver, not too far, but we should." I didn't hear anything else after that. He's sitting in our living room. On the couch, I blurted out. My legs felt like jelly and dizziness washed over me. Silence on the other end. "Not who's sitting there?" "Johnny," I muttered. "He just got here." "Owen, stop it. That's not funny. You two served together. How can you joke about something like this?" Lauren scolded me in a disapproving tone. "Why would I joke, Lauren? He's right here, on the couch." "Want me to put him on the phone?" I asked, my sanity slipping away. "Owen, stop scaring me. Johnny is dead," Lauren whispered. "His wife called me earlier. She tried reaching you but couldn't. The funeral is tomorrow. I'm telling you." "Lauren," I said, leaning against the wall because standing was becoming impossible. "He's sitting on the couch, alive." "Fine. Put him on then," Lauren asked, her voice now calm. "You can bring the phone to him, right?" "Sure," I replied, though fear had frozen my heart. I didn't want to go back into the living room where he was, but he was alive. Even though the smell, and the fact that I hadn't seen him through the peephole. But finally, logic won out. Dead people don't walk or talk. There had to be some mistake. I entered the living room. Johnny was sitting in the same position, staring at the TV. Johnny, buddy, can you say hi to my wife? I told her you stopped by. Will you say hello? Of course, Johnny said, his voice suddenly cheerful. He turned to me with a grin. Seeing that familiar smile, I let out a sigh of relief and handed him the phone. Hello, I'm Johnny, Owen's army buddy. And you must be his wife, Johnny said in a lively tone. Lauren must have replied, but Johnny just smiled and held the phone to his ear. That's when I noticed something. A thin red line of blood was slowly trickling down his hair and neck. That's right, and your husband will be joining me, Johnny answered one of Lauren's questions. Okay, I'll give him back the phone. He handed it to me. I took it, not taking my eyes off the crimson streak on his neck. No. Owen, get out of there, Lauren screamed, her voice frantic. I don't know who that is, but it's not Johnny. Oh God, Owen, please get out of there. I'm calling the police right now. My heart plummeted, and I couldn't speak. Lauren kept yelling into the phone, but I wasn't listening. Another thicker, darker stream of blood started oozing from Johnny's neck. What's wrong, Johnny asked, seemingly unaware that blood was flowing down his neck. Johnny, there's blood on your neck, I whispered. The phone slipped from my trembling hands. But really, he asked, surprised, and touched his neck. Blood smeared across his hand. I felt sick. You should clean up, I told him in a voice that didn't sound like my own. It felt like I was outside of my body, talking from a distance. I was so terrified. Okay, he said, getting up and removing his cap. I looked at his head and froze in horror. The top of his skull was missing, and part of his brain was gone, leaving only a blood-blackened mess. Johnny walked past me, paralyzed with fear, and a minute later I heard water running in the bathroom. Darkness began closing in around my vision, and I felt myself slipping away. I woke up to a sharp slap across my face. Owen, wake up, it was Lauren, kneeling beside me, tears streaming down her face. No. I jumped to my feet. Where is he? I asked her. There was no one here. The police are questioning the neighbors, Lauren replied, stroking my cheek. He was here, I insisted. I wanted a cigarette more than anything. Half of his head was gone, Lauren, half of his head. Lauren turned pale and wrapped her arms around my neck. I started crying. It's a good thing you passed out, Lauren whispered, holding me close. Thank God it happened. If you hadn't blacked out, he would have taken you with him. Do you know what he said when I told him his wife called to inform me of his death? He said it was true, and that you'd be joining him. But I didn't say a word. Calm, confident, logical me, those descriptions no longer fit. For the first time since the army, I wanted to smoke and never stop. The police questioned all the neighbors that day, but no one had seen anything. There was nothing more they could do. In fact, they didn't even believe anyone had been there. They looked at me like I was crazy when I repeated the details for the umpteenth time. When I got to the part about Johnny's brain being visible under his cap, they exchanged glances, apologized, and left. Lauren was in shock and couldn't say anything either.